native from Hawaii, but he's got an amazing story, like everybody else on the stage that's had issues and challenges in life, and they've overcome them. And they didn't let their past or their define their future, who they are, right? We all have choices. And his choice was to survive. And there's a lot of reasons why. There's people that were counting on him. But he's also had a huge impact with people in America. He was part of the team, for those who know the movie Sound of Freedom. Tim Ballard was the guy who went and helped a lot of children that were through sex slavery. He was there and did a lot of it with him and witnessed a lot of stuff. So I'm going to bring this guy on stage because he has an amazing story to share with each one of you guys about how life can punch you in the gut, kick you when you're down, but then you have a choice to get back up. And he did it. And now this man is from LA, Beverly Hills, who is thriving and is doing well and is enriched and wealthy in every part of his life. And all he wants to do is give back. He's building homes in Lahaina right now for those that were burned out. He's doing things for people because that's who he is. That's the kind of culture we're bringing to Hawaii. So without further ado, I want to bring on stage Kahea Kamauu from LA. Bring it up.
Thank you. Oh man, thank you. That was a great intro. Holy shit, who is this intro for? That guy sounds cool. I had a whole bunch of slides, and Chris kept texting me going, hey, get your presentation over, your slides over. And then a few hours ago, I decided to switch it up a little bit. And so I sent the slides over just like a couple hours ago. And what I wanted to do in this one is, I want to share some stories. You guys good with stories? Yeah. All right, let's share some stories. I think the last couple days now, you guys have had a lot of amazing speakers, and Chris is right. Like, what I love about is when I hear people's stories and it's about the challenges that they overcome, right? It's not the guy that inherited a bunch of money. There's no respect in that sense to that, right? No one's ever looking up to that guy. It's the challenges that they overcome. Sound of Freedom. So, I'm gonna take off my jacket. Just one second, guys. My best friend is Tim Ballard. So the movie Sound of Freedom is based on his life. He left the CIA to go rescue kids. He started a nonprofit. I had trained in martial arts, weapons, and things like that. My father was in the Army, and so I was good at a lot of different weapons, all those kind of things. He started inviting me out to missions, and I'd play this undercover role of going in trying to rescue kids. So a couple of years ago, I find myself in a van on the side of a road with two other former Navy SEALs in the middle of nowhere in a country called Haiti. 90-degree weather, we're sweating it out, and we're waiting to ambush a trafficker that had been stealing babies, 2-month-old babies, and selling them to slave labor camps. And this stuff is like the kind of stuff that goes on all around the world. Reverse, the way these missions sometimes work, we have to orchestrate or organize very, very quickly. We'll get a tip, we'll get a lead, we'll send someone in that can verify or validate the lead, and then sometimes we just have to get in there very quickly, right? So I'll get a call or a text message, hey man, can you get over to Haiti? And then we'll figure it out from there, right? It'll be like a text like that, literally like that. So I'm used to it. By that point, I'd gone on like 30-something missions, and I was familiar with Haiti. I'd already done Haiti a bunch, and so head to the airport. A kind of a funny thing is sometimes we'll bring a camera guy with us, and he'll document the mission. So the camera guy that I was supposed to meet at the airport that was going to come with me on the flight, he was like a greenie video guy. Like he had never been on a mission before. And our other guy was already off, I think in like Africa or something like that, on another mission. So this guy has like never been on a mission. Like we just call him a greenie. I meet him at the airport. And he's like, all right, what's the deal, man? They told me that I'm supposed to go to the airport, we're gonna fly out to Haiti, and that I was gonna meet with you, and you would fill me in on the whole mission and what we're gonna be doing in Haiti. And I was like, oh, well, they told me I was gonna go to the airport and meet you, and then we'd just go to Haiti. And so he's sitting there going, wait, we're just flying to Haiti, we don't even know what we're doing? And I was like, yeah, that's kind of how it goes. Well, who's meeting us at the airport? I don't know. I hope someone is. Right? This guy's just starting to flip out, like kind of trip out a little bit. So we get to the airport, fly to Haiti. We land there the next day. One of my partners that I usually do missions with was already in Haiti. So he was at the airport already to meet us. And we start to debrief. So here's the situation. We have a trafficker stealing babies, 2-month-old babies, 3 months, 4 months, 5 months old. And then he would take them across the border, across the DR border, and then sell them to labor camps. Those labor camps are actually farms, like produce. Some of these produce places around the world are selling their fruits and produce and everything for so cheap because they actually have slave labor. There's over 2 million that we know of that are actually in actual slave labor. And now the kids are raised on these farms, but they don't know any different because they were taken when they're little infants. So all they know is that they wake up on a farm and they have to go to work. That's all they know. So anyways, the scenario here was myself, the 2 other operators, and the camera guy were sitting huddled in this little car, and we're discussing how we're going to take down this trafficker guy. Well, he had a compound off the coast of Haiti on the other side of the country. It would take us 6 hours to get there, and then he had armed guards around the whole perimeter of his little compound, like about 6 guards, right? So we're like discussing all this, right? And then you get the camera guy, the new guy, and he's like, okay, wait, guys, maybe I'm missing something here. So there's 6 armed guards at this guy's house, and he's on a little island compound off the coast, 5 hours from here. And how many guys do we have? I was like, dude, we got Rocky, Dave, me. Oh, and I got you. Maybe you can jump in. And this guy was tripping out. He was like, holy crap, you guys are crazy. Fortunately enough for him, we decided, okay, yeah, maybe that is kind of crazy. We probably shouldn't infiltrate that. It'd be kind of hard to sneak up anyways. So we decided to do an arms weapons deal. We had our informant that had told us about all this and was connected to this guy. We had our informant tell the guy that there were some Americans with guns that wanted to do a weapons deal with him. And to come meet us, the next day, such and such, and, we'll do the deal or whatever. So sitting side of the road, and the plan was we're just going to go old technique style and just ambush the dude when he comes down the road. That was basically our magnificent plan. So the video guy is right there actually. That's him right there. He's got his camera. It's like ready for the ambush, and has no idea how we're going to do it. And then I've got the other former Navy SEALs in there. So the guy comes down the road, literally about 2 minutes after this video, and we jump out of the van. I literally clotheslined him. So they'll use like mopeds or motorcycles sometimes in those cities that are like far away, just because they can go in and out of places very quickly and avoid traffic. So as he is coming down, I clothesline the guy, right? He flies off. We grab him, we apprehend him.
Firecracker, we got, right there. We're waiting on the side of the road. We've got our target coming down on a motorcycle.
Yeah, man. This guy, our informant has the guy, Wilson Bristol, the guy who trafficked Gardy, on his own moped, and he's escorting him down here to us.
Bring him right to us.
Our guy,
even know what's
he has
going
no
on.
idea. He has no idea what's going on.
So we just ambush him on the side of the road.
Our guys are
Rocky,
good,
you ready,
man.
Rocky?
Rocky, you ready to roll, buddy?
We got AG and the gym over on the other side.
What's that?
You should be sitting on the general's call.
We're just gonna roll
On
out
his
here
car?
a little bit.
In his car. You don't want this guy to get caught.
And we'll go to that, and we'll go to the next one. And we got him. So a lot of these missions that I went on was because I was fortunate enough to have built a financial success that allowed me to go wherever I want to go, leave whenever I want to leave. And I would donate even on these missions and cover a lot of the costs, because that nonprofit, when Tim had first started it, was very low on money. They didn't have a lot of capital in the beginning. And fortunately having that ability to build all this financial success, I was able to jump in then when I'm called to do so and help. It wasn't always like that. I was kicked out of high school. I was arrested and kicked out of high school at the age of 17 years old. It was a technology high school, first in the nation, Al Gore's pet project when he was vice president, and they were studying the effects of computers on kids. So it was computers in every classroom, at every desk. 200 kids were selected for this school. I was already on to my third high school by that point. Flunked out of my freshman year, flunked out of high school. Sophomore year was struggling. My parents were trying to figure out what to do with me, so they got me into this program. Fortunately enough, I actually really did well in the program. I love computers. Anybody that's known me for a long time knows that I'm actually a tech guy. Before real estate, before everything else, I'm a tech nerd. And I love coding. Well, the cool thing about coding, or what was funny about coding at this school, as I got really good at coding, was all my friends are coders as well. And coders were also hackers, right? So I was learning a lot of the extracurricular activities aside from coding at that school. And so what we figured was, well, you know, one way to test our abilities of coding, we'd pull pranks on the school. Like I did the whole football team, straight A's, right? And I was like, why are you guys even like mad at me for that? I was like, it's obvious a football team doesn't have straight A's. It's like, you get a welcome message on a Monday morning when you guys are logging in by me, you know, or whatever. My senior year at the school, I hacked my principal's email. And I start sending messages to other kids, other students. I was like, you're suspended. Go straight home. Your parents are told already. And I would like run out, like, so they treat us like college kids. So we could leave the classroom anytime we wanted to. So then of course, after I sent the email, I know the kid got it. So then I like run over outside, try to stop him. You know, it's a joke, don't worry, I'll laugh about it. But I think I've forgotten to tell every kid that I sent that email to. So there were some that actually went home, right? And you can only imagine the conversation that happened with the parents and the kid. Why did you get suspended? I have no idea. The principal just emailed me. Whatever, you did something wrong. I'm calling the principal now. So anyways, the principal was a little upset, right? Now, they didn't catch me because I was a bad coder. There's no way they would have caught me. They caught me because they knew there was probably only one person in that school that would have done a prank like that. So I'm sitting in the classroom a couple of days later, and I look outside, and I see a swarm of cops coming down the hallway. And I'm like, why the fuck do I get the feeling these cops are headed for me? You know, you're just like, you know that one, like those times where you like just have a bad feeling, like you know something bad is gonna happen. And then it's like all happens in slow motion, like there's nothing you can do, you just gotta sit there and watch it unfold. It was like that, right? Like, so cops, boom, you know, bust in the classroom, run to the back. I'm sitting in the back of the classroom. They throw me on the ground, handcuff me, and they drag me to my principal's office. My principal starts going off on me, right? So I'm like arrested, handcuffed, and he's like, you're a loser, you're gonna lose the rest of your life, you're out of this school, you're not worth the air you breathe, like just going off on me. And it was probably one of those things because I was always in his office a lot, like we'd talk about life. Like, every time I got in trouble, he'd talk to me about life and stuff. So I think it was one of those times where, you know, where you're trying to help somebody a lot, over and over and over and over, and that person just doesn't listen. It was probably something like that, right? So then he kind of just had this little snapping point and was just like done with me. So when all that's going on, the cops actually had to pull him aside and tell him, oh, you know, actually, we don't have a law against him hacking your email, so we're gonna have to let him go. That just made him more pissed. And so My mom picks me up. Of course, they had released me with my mom. And then he went on this like rampage. He like went to every high school in the district and told the principals not to let me in. It was pretty crazy. So here I am, 17 years old, kicked out of high school, but not even sure if I'm allowed to go back to high school anymore. So I'm like, holy shit, my life is like over, right? Because what are we told growing up? What are most of you guys told growing up? Nolly said earlier, the American dream, right? You go to school, you get good grades, you go to college, you get good grades, so you can get a degree, so you can get a job, so you can pay bills, so you can retire. That was success. That was like the plan of success. And anybody that was gonna like get kicked out of school or not go to college, we were told over and over and over, oh, they're not gonna be successful, right? So here I am, 17 years old, and I don't even know if I'm gonna be able to finish high school. So I'm like, holy shit, I probably am. Like, probably am in trouble. That's all ripped out from me. That whole idea of going to college and everything was all ripped out. And what that did was it forced me at a young age to have to start looking at life differently as to how I was gonna create financial success. Because at 17 years old, even with all that going on, I was still stubborn enough to believe that I would be successful one day. That was something I refused to let go. And so I did what anybody else would do. If you can't go to school, you're gonna grab books. And I started reading books. Another thing that happened those few weeks after I got kicked out of school, something else that was cool, that was Microsoft sent people down to go look for me in this town. They show up and they're like asking me, hey, can you just show us how you did it? I'm like, well, am I gonna be in trouble? They're like, no, you're not gonna be in trouble. We might actually give you a job. I was like, holy shit, you gave me a job? And I show them what I did, and they offered me a job. But they said, hey, you have to finish high school at least. Like, that's a minimum requirement to work at Microsoft at that point. So high school, GED, right? So at 19 years old, I was a lead engineer at Microsoft in the development of Windows 2000 with 20 Microsoft engineers under me. I was so shy that I had a hard, I remember the first day I was being introduced to my team, my department, and I was like scared to even say my name. I had like all these older people, right? And I was like 19. And it was like hard for me to like even introduce myself. I wanted to like just go to my office. I think I literally told them, hi, my name's Kahea. I'm just gonna get to work. And I walked off and went to my desk. So it started settling in my mind that, wait a minute here. There's a whole nother pathway to financial success. And then in the tech world, we're surrounded by all this overnight success anyways. All of them were college dropouts, and all of them were some of them were kicked out of high school too. Like my boss at Microsoft got kicked out of high school as well. It was like it was almost more normal to hear somebody getting dropped out of school at Microsoft. It was like a very normal thing to hear that story. Like, you stood out if you actually went to college. And so that path started to conclude in my mind as I was watching other people become successful, and it was an alternate path. I started reading books, right? One of the books I came across was Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill. Another book is How to Win and Influence Friends, Dale Carnegie, right? And these are books that, if you guys haven't read yet, you need to read. Richest Man in Babylon. Anybody read that book yet? Yes. It's a good book, The Scrolls. All these books that I was reading, and I without even realizing it, was doing self-development at a young age, like at 17, 18, 19, 20. I left Microsoft, started my own tech company. And I continued the journey on. Kept reading. I didn't party. I literally was just consuming everything I could. You know that my first business plan, the way I even got a business plan, was because I went into it was like a bike shop or something like that, and met with the owner there just randomly, and I said, hey, did you have to make a business plan for your store? And they said, yeah, I did. I was like, is there any chance I could get a copy of that just so that I can understand what a business plan looks like? The guy gave me a copy on Word doc so I could edit it. And that's how I made my first business plan after that, right? I have no problem, and this is something that's very important, never have a problem asking for help. Never have a problem asking for help, right? I have no problem asking for help. And anytime I saw something that someone else was doing that I thought looked cool in the business world sense, I had no problem asking them, can you explain to me what it is you're doing? I want to learn. I gobbled up so much. And they started formulating all these different things. So like 5 qualities of a millionaire. Goals. You have to set goals. It was mentioned several times in this conference. You have to set goals. But goals, to me, are not just setting the goal as great. It's you have to go through the 6 senses. Right? Feel, touch, hear, smell. Right? Like you have to truly understand what your goal is. For me, at a young age, a mentor had told me, you conceive the idea, you'll believe the idea, and then you'll achieve the idea. So conceive, believe, achieve. Right? And for me, it's not just about having the goal, conceiving it, you got to set up the date and all that kind of stuff as well. Like you want to put dates with your goals. But for me, it was a script of a movie. So you know, like when you watch like a scary movie and the lady's like starting to walk into the old creepy house, or the guy hiding behind the door. You've seen this movie like 20 times, but you're still sitting there thinking like, dude, don't go in the house, right? Don't go in the house. You know, you're like getting nervous, but it's like, dude, of course she's going to go in the house. It's the same movie, right? And she goes in the house, gets kidnapped and everything else, right? My goals were like the script of a movie. It was going to happen. I believed them so much that when I wrote my goals down at 19, and I had no idea how I'd get there, but I just knew that, at age, look, I remember riding the bus at one point when I didn't have a car, and I remember like looking at my goal card, and I was like, you know what? By the time I'm 24, I'm gonna have a really cool car. You know, and every time there was like some kind of setback in life, I would look at my goal card. Like, oh, you know what? That's all good. When I'm 25, I'm gonna have a cool ass house, right? Like, and these are like, I just believed it. Like I was really just waiting to get older, to get closer to my goals kind of thing. Relentless determination. Relentless determination isn't like a passive way of just going, yeah, but at 2 a.m., you're tired, you promised your client you would email them back the contract, but now it's 2 a.m. in the morning, your child just woke up, you have to feed the baby, you have all these different things, and you have to wake up early for Zumba class, so maybe you'll do it the next day, even though you committed to somebody that you would do it that night. Relentless determination is follow through, even at the difficult times, right? So it's not some guy walking through a field full of flowers and we go, wow, that guy is relentlessly determined. He walked through a field full of flowers. It's a guy walking across a field full of hot lava coals, barefoot. And you're like, wow, that guy is relentlessly determined to get across that field. Friend circles. Who's in your friend circles? We all know this, right? Like, you will become exactly like the people you're surrounded with. And that's why you guys are here. But when you leave this event, who are you surrounded by? Check your friend circles. Check the people that are influencing you. I'm very cautious as to who takes my time. And it's not in a stuck-up nature of, I just don't want to be around people or that kind of thing. It's just that I have to be you just want to be very cautious as just to not allow bad energy around you or whatever it is that might suck energy from you. Financial literacy. I coach several businesses on scaling their businesses very quickly, right? And one of the issues that I see over and over and over is financial literacy. People want to make money, but they don't want to understand money. We have people that like study football or like basketball, and they do the what are that challenges that they do every year? A Final Fantasy, whatever, right? And they like know the players, they know the stats, they know everything inside and out. But then when it comes to money, they have no clue. Yet, the majority of your working day, or the majority of your normal waking day, is spent working for money. It makes no sense to me. So if you want to be really good at money, you got to study money. Read about wealth. Read about people that have created a lot of wealth. What do they do with their money? How do they make it? I was reading all these different books, biographies. I was trying to understand how the banking system worked, all those kind of things when I was young. And then self-development. And I don't think we have to go into that too much further because you guys are here. You already know what that is. 3 characteristics of a successful leader. Quick to make decisions. Napoleon Hill, when he was interviewing Ford, one highlight that stood out was that a successful leader will make a decision within 60 seconds. 60 seconds. Right? Once you get all the information that you need, it really doesn't take much longer for you to make that decision. What happens when you're indecisive though? Stress. Where does stress come from? Indecision. Right? Like anytime you're stressed, you haven't made a decision and committed to that decision yet. Because as soon as you make a decision in whatever you're stressed about, now you're just taking action. Indecision, stress is created from indecision. My very first townhouse, very first real estate property was Nob Hill Townhouses, 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath. I slept in it one night on the floor. I bought a blanket from Walmart, and I wanted to like get a feeling of how it felt to sleep in your first property. And at the time though, I lived in Laie. And it was like so far from the ocean, Milani. And I was like, yeah, I'm not going to live here. I went back to Laie and continued to rent a room, share a room with one of my friends that was still going to college. I did that. I never actually lived in any of my properties until I had like my 4th property. I just kept buying them and renting them out. And that was working. So I had like tech going on and then real estate going on. And it was, for me, it was a lot of fun because like that Milani property made me like $300 net cash flow, right? After rents and mortgages and everything. And I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. That's like my car payment. I was like, oh, okay. So then if I get another one, then that could be like my grocery bill. And I get another one, then that could be my rent. And I started stacking up properties with that idea in mind. And so 25, hit $1 million, 28, I'm going broke, going through divorce, market crashed. I have 2 kids now. One's a month and a half old. Me and the wife at the time decided to go through a divorce and split up. And we had married young. So it was nothing on her, but I said, look, I'm focused on businesses. I'm building my businesses. I'm not really into the whole party scene and all that kind of stuff. So you go out, do whatever you want to do. I'll take care of the kids. So I had a month and a half old, a 2-year-old turning 3, and it was a 2008 crash. And I had just dropped $1 million in a development in Kahuku. And that was going to get locked up for a while, right? I think I could have survived a lot better, but financially through the crash. I actually didn't have a lot of too much money tied up. The issue was on that same weekend that we separated and she had moved out and I had both my kids, I get a letter in the mail from the doctor telling me that my 2-year-old was diagnosed with cerebral palsy. Spastic diplegia of cerebral palsy. High functioning, by the way, so it wasn't like in a wheelchair or anything, but he had delays on his right side. He had to have a leg brace. And my brother's a doctor. My brother-in-law's a doctor as well. So I call him right away. We do a phone call. And, I take a picture of the letter. And I said, what is this? And I said, well, they explained everything to me. Come to find out, as we're trying to figure out what's a good solution to help my son, I learned that the brain continues to develop neurons up until about 6 years old. So he's 2, turning 3. I have a good 3-year window to really help retrain his brain. And what cerebral palsy is, for those that don't know, it's brain damage. And depending on where the brain damage is, will depend on if it affects cognitive or if it affects physical or those kind of things, right? And unfortunately for him, it was more of a physical thing, delays on the right side. So I start going through this whole process of really trying to help him get all the services that he needs at Kapilani Hospital, at the Children's Hospital. And we start doing like 20 hours a week of physical therapy, occupational therapy, doctor's appointments, and I was just pushing everything I could. But of course, if I'm going to put all that time and effort onto that side, my decision was, and especially because I had a baby, was I would just figure it out financially. I didn't have time to do both. So I had a business. I had a large printing company that I had bought here in Hawaii. It was called Hawaii Digital. It later became ROI Printing. And that company started going downhill. I bought an office building the year prior when everything was good. Bought an office building in Honolulu. Of course, the rents stopped coming in when the market crashed. And I had almost like an empty office building with a huge mortgage. And I was only 28. You know, I had like this $30,000 mortgage on this one building a month, $30,000 a month. My development was like $20,000 something a month. And so like it was all crawling in. I just didn't have time because I wanted to take care of my baby and my son. As time went on, little fires would pop up here and there, right? And you'd put them out. You know what I mean? Like, oh, this thing had an issue over there, okay, I'd take care of it. That thing has an issue, okay, I'll take care of it. But as it's happening, money's dwindling. At one point, the health insurance tells me that they've maxed out on covered services for my son and they won't do any more physical therapy for him. We get down to the point where my mortgage is now in foreclosure because I couldn't afford the mortgage. Car starts getting repossessed, or they're trying to repossess the car. And I'm still like trying to like put out all these little fires along the way, right? Employees starting to leave my company. Paychecks couldn't get paid. Paychecks were bounced. Trying to handle all of that, but then still make sure my kids are okay, right? And we're going to hospital visits. And it's almost kind of funny now, but it's like even my dogs, like one dog gets lost or stolen, like our gate had got left open and he just like disappeared. It was like, I love that dog. The other one got hit by a car, right? So it was like everything was going on. Like if there was something bad that could have happened, it happened. You guys ever been there? Felt like that? Right? Like fire after fire after fire. Okay, I'll take care of that. I'll take care of that. And you're pivoting and you're trying to do whatever you can. But this had gone on for like a year like this. I come home one day. And we're coming home from the hospital from my son's physical therapy. And I go to flip on the light switch. Electricity's cut. So I'm like, all right, Josh, we're gonna camp out tonight. We're gonna camp for the next couple of days. You know what? I'm gonna go grab a sheet. I'm gonna put it over the bed. We're gonna camp out inside the house. And my son's like, oh wow, this is so cool, you know? And my other son, still baby, just barely one, and still drinking milk. And I'm like, okay, he likes warm milk. Well, microwave doesn't work. So I take a whole bunch of baby bottles, I fill them up with water, and I put them on the windowsill of my bedroom so the sun would hit it, warm them up so that late at night, or at least they'd have lukewarm water, right? And then even late at night, he could have his warm bottle because his schedule was like he would wake up at like 2 in the morning and he wanted a bottle. And that went on for a couple of days. In the midst of all this, mailbox is full, right? You guys in Hawaii, right? There ain't no fucking good thing going on in the mailbox. Like, come on. Freaking bills after bills after bills. I don't want to look at all that. That thing was so piled, it was like falling out. I was like, and I was driving in my driveway and I'm just like, no, don't look at that. You know? There's just more bad news. Well, one day it's rainy. The sun's not out. milk doesn't get, or the water doesn't get warmed. 2 a.m. hits, go to feed, Solomon is the name, go to feed him his baby milk. And it's late at night, we got the candles going in his room where the crib was, and then me and my son still camping under the tent in my room. Shake it up, give it to him, and he spits it out. And it was like at that moment, as I was standing there looking over him in the crib, and I realized that we had gotten so low financially, I couldn't even feed my own baby. And I remember just sitting, it's like everything just kind of hit me, right? Because I think the whole time in this whole process, I was just pivoting. And I wasn't really thinking about what's going on. I was just pivoting. And then, of course, constantly focused on the what ifs. All the negative, right? Oh, what if the house gets foreclosure? Well, I was in foreclosure, but it wasn't foreclosing that day. Or the car, somebody had come to take my car, but I needed the car. I take my son to physical therapy, occupational therapy. I take him to the hospital. And I remember like that moment, just not knowing what to do. I back up, and I'm walk out of his room, and I literally, I think I ended up in the hallway, like in the corner, and I was sitting in the corner in the dark, tearing up. Had no idea what to do. I had no idea that I would get into a situation where I couldn't feed my own kids. And everything was coming down on me, right? Like where you just get the weight is on your shoulders, and it's just like, geez, like, give me a break, right? I remember sitting there just thinking, just give me a break, like just a little break. In the midst of all this, and Solomon's crying in the other room, I hear this little, Dad, where are you, Dad? And I'm like, I don't want him to know where I'm at, that I'm crying and trying to figure out what to do. Dad, come back to the camp out. And finally he finds me in the dark, sitting in the corner right here, and he's like, jumps in my lap, and he's like, Dad, come back to the camp out. What are you doing? And I didn't know what to tell him, but I did have my phone, and I just thought it was so opposite from how I was feeling, because he was like, I could tell he was smiling in the dark, right? And I was like, he's so happy, and yet I'm so miserable. So I grab my phone, and I take a picture that night. That's Josh. And I'm like, how can this be? Like, he was so happy to be with his dad camping. We both were living in the same environment, eating the same food, dealing with the same physical things. Yet I'm living a miserable life, and he's just happy in the present, spending time with his dad. So when I grab my phone, I take that picture, and I start staring at the phone, because it was just so opposite, like the way I was feeling, he was feeling. I just couldn't understand it. And then all of a sudden, things just started clicking. And I was like, wow. I've been so focused on what was wrong and what was going to happen, or what I thought was going to happen, that it happened, right? What we focus on happens, right? Tony Robbins shares a story about him going to the NASCAR track and Awaken the Giant, and he's driving a NASCAR, and they do this training. And in the training, they say, hey, we're gonna like do all these different things to the car while you're trying to drive it around the track, and your sole goal is to stay focused on the track. And of course, it's Tony Robbins. Obviously, he knows this as well. You got to focus on the track, focus on where you're going. They put him in a spin, all of a sudden, in the car, and of course, in his mind, he was saying, yeah, I was supposed to look at the track, but of course, as we're spinning, I see the wall. And he just could not get his head to turn away from the wall. The instructor finally had to grab Tony Robbins' helmet and force it to look at the road. And then, of course, after doing that, they naturally slid back into place and they're back on the road. So I'm sitting there that night, and all these lessons that I read about in the books, all the self-development, all the tapes, all the different stories that I heard, everything started to come back to me, and I said, and on top of that, I was so caught up in everything that was going on that I wasn't even just being present. Of course, I get up, I jump onto the bed with my son, and it's like everything just lifted from me. The weight on my shoulders lifted from me. It was like a paradigm shift, like, you know, where you're just like, all of a sudden you just see something from a whole different angle. And I had a hard time sleeping that night because I was actually excited. And as I started to have more positive thinking and started to change my mental state, what started happening? Solutions start popping up in my head. All the different issues that were going on, all of a sudden, my brain started now giving me solutions that I wasn't thinking about before. It was hard to sleep that night. Company that was almost at closing, car being repossessed, house in foreclosure, like all this stuff going on. We're on welfare, and yet I was so excited because I knew I could get it all fixed. That I was the answer, right? I was looking externally for some answer. I was the answer. So the next few weeks, of course, you know, I just start pounding, and with just this is what I mean by relentless determination. That even at that night, next day, I didn't know how I was going to get money any faster than doing this. I went on to Craigslist, but I know I needed to get money very quickly, like cash, right, to get the electricity on. I went on Craigslist, found jobs where I could just do random odd jobs at people's houses to get cash, like right away, right? So like go unclog a toilet, go fix somebody's shower. I'm not even a construction guy, but these kind of things were the kind of things that I was doing just for a couple of days so I could get some cash real quick, turn on electricity. Then I started throwing some things into my business. My printing company, I started revamping marketing plans and strategies and start rebuilding all that. It was like I knew all this stuff. I just had to start taking action. And within 6 months, all my bills were paid. I had $100,000 sitting in my checking account. Within 3 years, I had acquired over $9 million in property. Continued to add more. And I never looked back. I just kept charging. People talk about the why, and that is the biggest thing that I can leave with you guys, is you have to find your why. And your why can't be about you. Nothing is about, your why will never be strong enough if it's about you. Yeah. Has to be about someone else or other people. And for most of you guys, of course, your why is your kids. My driven why is to create employment and create opportunities and create millionaires and financially successful people wherever I go. And that's what drives me to build. And so when you guys are hit, some of you guys are in the corner. Some of you guys have been in the corner before. Some of the speakers here have been in the corner. Some of you guys are in the corner now. I invite you guys to come back to the camp out.